Hello everyone, it's Bree from Skeletorama again. Welcome back to my channel. Kim at House Shift. How is everybody? So doing good. We are getting ready to do part 2 now of the awesome retro stove kit from Bentley House Minis, which of course information on how you can get your own kit will be in the box below, and it's super fun, so you totally should. But anyway, so we've built a lot of the main part of the kit, and so we are now going to continue on with that and get to, I think, like some of the accessories and things. So hope you enjoy that. There will be a lot of fast forwarding through all three of these. Obviously you probably noticed that from part 1, but I wanted to leave in as much as I could of the process, but not bore you to sleep, even though I probably do that anyway, but not exactly concise, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, hey, at least I spring for the extra the fancy Adobe music, so you don't have to listen to the YouTube stuff, which I can't stand because I think I've been on YouTube too long. So every time I see a video, if it uses a song that I'm used to seeing for another YouTuber, it always weirds me out. I'm not sure why that is, but anyway. So I hope you enjoy part 2. Alright, so now we can glue our little range top to here. So as you can see, this made kind of a lip here for us to glue on, and here as well. So it's going to just slide in right there. It's going to go on top of those, and then this little sticky outy bit, that's a technical term, is going to hook around there. So now that's going to be level with that. So we will get the glue on. Where is my glue? There's my glue. Making sure, of course, to remove the glue from any of that stuff. And then now we can put this piece on here. So this is the one where all the knobs are going to go. And so it is going to go up under here like so. And it's going to connect, oops, we're going to drop it in the oven and bake it for a while. It's going to connect to, see, I'm not sure how well you can see it. See how you got like that kind of lip? So it'll be the bottom of that and then the face of the other 3 sides. So once again, I think it'll probably be easiest to just put glue on the big piece and do the smaller piece to it. I say while, not doing the glue in a straight line, even close. Okay. And we'll put this here, kind of slide that into place and wipe off any extra glue, because, of course, any of the extra glue that you have on there, it's going to be noticeable when you go to paint it. All right, so there's that part, and it is looking really good so far. So we're gonna let that dry and we will move on to the next part. Okay, so now we are ready to add some more pieces to it. So I'm going to cut out L, M, K, and J, so then we'll be done with this piece, and N and GG from this one. So we have these ones all cut out, so we're going to start putting some pieces in there. And make sure I didn't get any extra dust in there. Okay, so this piece right here, GG is going to go, where's my tweezers? So it's going to go in here, and it's going to line up with the bottom of this window thing here. I'm sure I will make a mess of it. But basically what it is, it's so when we go to add the hinge on, it gives it something to grab onto. And then what she's saying is if you have a hard time with it, which I could, we'll find out, you can always put this piece in and then put this piece in there up underneath and glue it on there. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to try it the real way first. And then if that doesn't work, then we'll try it that way. But it's not going to go up level at the very top. It's going to go more level with the bottom part of it. So, see how well that works out. So there needs to be like 1/16 of an inch, and that's not even remotely straight. Yeah. Alright, that's kinda good, I think, maybe. We'll find. find out. We're just going to leave that. I'm not even gonna mess with that. for just a second, and then so now we're going to put the top on there. So with the top, you put it so that the L is hidden, and then it's going to go on top of here. So you've got this little kind of hook piece, and that's going to hook on over this way. So we'll give that just a second, and then we'll do it, just because I know if I don't, when I go to, like, say put glue on, I'll go boop and knock it right into here. All right, so that should be long enough. I went ahead and refilled my glue while I was at it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put glue everywhere where it's going to touch. So along this edge and this edge here, you can see there's kind of like a little notch, a little teeny tiny, very hard to see, little notch, and that's going to fit, you know, on this part here. And then we'll do these top sides and then that piece there. So do those first just because they're easier. And then of course you want to get rid of any of the excess glue, of which this time there was a whole bunch. Make sure that's down nice and even. I'll kind of get in there and maybe push that piece up a little bit too. All right, so we'll set that to dry, and then now we're going to take this piece, which is J. We're going to have it where the J is. It's going to be upside down in your view, but it's still facing up. And then with K, we're going to take this little center part out, and then we're going to glue this on top of this. We're going to do the same thing. When you glue it down, you want to make sure you're covering that J up, so that way your trim is going to be on the correct side. And then we will put a one of the 1, 2, 3 blocks on here to weigh it down. Make sure it is nice and straight before we do that. Take care of any extra glue on the edges where it's squishing out. All right, so set that on there. Let that dry a bit too. All right, so that should be good. This back over here. And so now this piece here is going to go up under here. So it's going to lay on this piece here. It's going to be under, there's kind of a little overhang. You can see it. A little overhang. It's going to go under that overhang and then right here on this piece. Just like so. She says. Sure it is. Is it? It should. There we go. All right. Okay, so that's going to go in there like that. So we're going to go ahead and put glue everywhere that's going to touch as well. Okay, so we're going to put this up like this and put this in here. And then you want to get this nice and flush at the back and on the sides, and you know, she recommends turning it every which way to make sure that it's on there the way you want it, which is always a good idea because it may look straight from one angle and then you turn it and it doesn't look so straight. So that's looking good that way. We'll hold that, let that set up for just a minute. So now we have that one. I'm going to turn it on its back, and there's a little engraved line. So this is an optional piece, which I'm going to use because I totally want to use it. Of course I do. It's piece N. So this is going to be a little accessory shelf. So you're going to do one long side and one short side with the glue. And then it's going to go in here just under the engraved line like all the other stuff did. See, I really should have dry fitted it because it's just slightly, ever so slightly too long. So I'm going to take my sandpaper and I'm just going to go in one direction, and I'm going to sand this down just a little bit until it fits in there nice. So now it should fit. So having seen how I'm going to have to put it in, I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on here because that's just going to work out better for me, I think. here and go up here a little bit. And I make sure my in is facing down. And then I will slide this in and get it right up under the line there. And then take off any extra glue, of course, once I make sure it's actually level. There we go. So that looks pretty good. And we definitely want to make sure it's level because, of course, if we want to put something on there, we don't want it to fall off, right? Okay. So then the last one here is going to be piece M. And so this one is going to sit on here. So you have this little angled bit that's coming off this side piece. So you're going to have it there, and then it's going to kind of butt up a little bit against this top part here. So that is flush with the top, and with this piece here, and with this piece over here. So we're going to let those dry for a few minutes. All right, so while this sets up, we can go on to our next piece, which is going to be the little drawer in there. And so for that, we're going to need pieces U, and then double H, double I, and both double J pieces. So get those out of here. Okay, so I have cut it out, and I've sanded any of the ones that I didn't, get quite correctly. So now U is going to be the very front of it. So with this one, like the sides and everything, we can go ahead and kind of round the doors a bit so it looks a little more beveled, There we go. And it'll be pretty easy to tell because obviously the front of the drawer, we're not going to have the U, right? So, okay, what we're going to do now is we are going to take HH and I, and double I is going to sit at the very back. It's going to make the back of the drawer, right? So we'll do the double H so it's underneath and you can't see it, and we'll go ahead and put this so it's towards the back and you don't see it, even though we're going to paint it, but still. Okay, so we got a little bit of glue. Put this up against here. And again, I like to put those on the work surface, and then I kind of drag it because, I pretty much always will end up with extra glue, and, and knock that off of there while I'm at it. Taking the extra glue off, but that just helps me to make sure that it is square. Okay, so there we go. All right, and so then these are going to be the sides of it. So the small piece is going to match with this small piece here and then come out to the front. So put glue on these two sides and attach that on the top of the double H piece as well. So we'll start it there, and then I'll flip it to its side here to make sure that this is actually square and flush with the bottom piece, which I'm, pulling off. So, okay. A little bit more glue to this. Jesus. Oh yeah, I can put the whole rest of the stove together, but, I can't do the drawer. We're going to sit that there for a few minutes. Gently take the extra glue off. And then we're going to give that a minute before we put the other side on because, I don't feel like gluing the end on. I guess it's like fourth time. Okay. Now I should be able to do it in theory. So same thing. let that set up, and then we're going to put it on our drawer front here in just a minute. Okay, that should be good enough. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our drawer and we're going to center it on our drawer front and glue it down, and then we'll let that set up, and then we'll test it to make sure it fits. If it doesn't, you can sand down the opening a little bit. So, but here's hoping it just fits, you know. I like when they just fit. Okay, so there is our drawer, which looks more or less straight. Oops. Okay, that looks straight. Okay, so I'm going to hold this for a minute. I may have to end up adding a little bit more glue on here, but for now that looks pretty straight. So I'll set this over here to the side, and now we're going to do these doors here. So for those, we're going to take V, X, W, and T out of the little mat board prison that they're in. All right. So we have these four here, so we're going to put the little magnets. So they've got these things in here. Looks like there's a hole, but it doesn't go all the way through. It's just kind of an inset to put those itty bitty magnets in. Now for the magnets, she does recommend super glue. So I've got my Loctite gel, and we are going to reach in here. And there's a paper clip, and the magnets have decided they really like the paper clip. Okay, so they are not attached to each other, but you know, of course they're magnets, so they're sticking to each other. So the best way to do it is to just put each one down individually where it's going to live. And so I'm going to take my super glue, and I'm going to put just a drop in there. And then I'm going to take the magnet and I'm going to slide it into it there. Kind of tap it down with my fingernail, finger. There we go. Okay. I'll make sure those are sitting in there nice and flat, which is, you know, pretty much the opposite of what I am currently doing. Jesus, come on. Okay, so there we go. We got those in there. So we're going to let these completely dry because, again, with the glue, the super dear God, super glue gel, it's not instant. It does take a few minutes. So we're going to let these completely dry over here. And let's test our drawer real quick and make sure that's going to fit in there. Yep, slides in there just perfect. Very nice. All right, there we go. So now with this is a good time to give it a good sand and some spots. I'll get a new piece of sandpaper. So like right here, you know, it's kind of a rough little overhang sort of thing. So I'm gonna do that. Get everything squared up real nice. All right, so now we're gonna do the paper hinges. And so these are on the cardstock sheet. So we're going to remove these, and then we'll match them with their friends here. So we got these matched up with these. And then in the interim, while these were drying, I went ahead and flipped them over and I rounded the edges like I did with the other stuff. So that's out of the way. I didn't figure y'all need to see that. Okay, so in the accessory bag here, we have some fabric. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take the paper hinges, and we're going to glue them to the fabric. And I'm just going to use my PVA glue for that. But that way the hinges are going to be a lot stronger. And they'll last a lot longer than if it was just the cardstock paper. So we'll let that dry a little bit, and then I will get the scissors out and we will cut around those. All right, so we will cut these out, and you want to cut these exactly to the paper piece so you don't have any hanging over. Right, so now we can glue our hinges to our piece, and so they're going to go on like this on the back where the magnet is, because obviously the magnet's going to be facing inwards like that. And so when you're done, you'll have this little bit of it sticking out. So we're going to put the glue on the fabric and make sure you get it right up to the edges with something like that, because you're really going to want it to be on there nice and strong and not have a reason to come off. So this is going to go like this. Make sure the tabs are lined up real good. And then so you've got a sandwich between your cardstock hinge and your mat board piece. And of course, did I have a little hanging out off the edges? Yeah, I did, but that's okay because it's going to get painted. So I'm not terribly worried about that. We just want to make sure that everything is lined up correctly on here. We may have to trim around that a little tiny bit. We'll let it dry before we do that. Okay, I'm going to do that with all of these. So we are going to let these dry, and then we'll see if they need any kind of cosmetic trimming up on the sides or anything. And in the meantime now, we can paint the bulk of this. So what I did was I took some of the extra pieces and I basically put the black gesso down, and then I put the paint over the top of it so I could see, okay, do I want to paint it with black first and then put, you know, the stuff on there, or is it okay the way it is? Like as you see, this blue right here looks fine, whether it's been gessoed or not, but the other ones are more translucent. And then the silver, I was just curious if I put the silver down and then put the teal on top, what that would do, and it was very underwhelming. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I will take the black gesso for the most part and put it on there, and then I'm going to use this particular blue, which is called Stormy Ocean. And that's going to be the bulk of it. And then the doors, where they would normally be, you know, white or cream or something, that's a little too contrasty for me. So I think what I'll do is I'll do the doors in that, but without using the black gesso underneath. I'll just have the doors that way. That way they're kind of a light contrasting color, but they still sort of match. So we'll see how that looks. And then for the little drawer, same kind of thing. I'm going to paint the inside. I'm going to do the inside just like I did for here, where it's the black with the black sparkly, and I'll do the tops. But with these sorts of things, you know, depending on the kind of clearance, if you've got enough clearance, you can go ahead and paint the outside of the drawer, but you know, just remember you're adding material to it, so you may make it where it doesn't want to slide in and out correctly if you do. So just know that. You know, if you do that, but you really do want to paint these, you can always sand the entrance to it down and it'll slide in easier. Okay, so we are going to gesso some things. And I'm not going to do this part here just yet, because as you can see these lines here, I need to be able to see those for a later part of it. So. So I have one coat on here so far, making sure to try as best as I can to avoid this top piece because that's going to be silver. But you know, it's kind of hard to see with the lighting, so I know there's a corner I can do a little bit better in a couple spots, but that's kind of how it's going so far. It does need at least one more coat though, because as you can see, you know, it looks kind of patchy, just because this is fairly translucent. So we will let that dry completely, and then I will do one more coat over it. I'm not going to worry so much about, you know, the little fiddly bits, but at least the main part of it, so it gets nice even color on it. And then we'll mess with the drawer here in a few too. All right, so I have trimmed these up, and so the next thing that Era recommends that you do is that you take and you pre-bend these to the 90-degree angle for when they're going to be in the oven like so. And so that way it's going to be much easier for you to close it once you, you know, get them in there, because they've already been trained to fold over. So I'm going to do that for all of these. So you're bending them back. You're bending them back towards the magnet. So you're going to have the, you know, the white part here bent because you're going to glue this brown part to the actual stove, which we'll do in a few minutes. But I do want to paint the fronts of these. I did give this a second coat. Here you can kind of see it's evened it out a bit. So what I used was, I also have sparks. Sparks with these paints, you've got the metallic paints, then you have the sparks. The sparks are the super shiny ones. So I figured this is going to be a retro, so I'm thinking kind of like that, you know, super sparkle vinyl type stuff. So it's nice and shiny. So I just went over it with that so that it kind of combined with this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to paint the fronts of these doors and let those dry, and then I'll paint the backs. This is the drawer. So far I've only done the inside part here, and then I'll do the door with the same teal I'm going to use for that. And then we'll see once everything's painted whether I want to paint the outside, whether that's going to interfere with it going in and out or not. Because it's kind of a tight squeeze now. So, but we'll see. Okay, so we'll start painting those real quick. And as you can see again by how super uneven it is, we're going to let this dry. We're going to do a second coat on it, and then we'll do the back. Alright, so while we wait on these ones to dry to make a decision about what we're going to do with them, there's one final piece we need to put on here as far as constructing the piece. There's obviously decorative stuff that needs to go on too, but and that's the feet. So we're going to do that, and that's why I didn't worry about painting the bottom yet, because I know I'm going to have to paint these black as well, and you know, I figured I would do that all in one shot. So we will go ahead and cut these out. So these are the Z and the Y pieces. So for each of these legs, it's going to be a Y and a Z piece. And so you'll notice that the Y and the Z is quite a bit skinnier than the Y. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the Z, and it's going to go on the back of the Y piece. So that way, once you take the thickness of this into account, then all of a sudden the feet are the same size, right? So go ahead and glue those to each other at 90-degree angles. Give those a minute to set up, and then we'll put them on here. So we are going to go ahead and put this upside down because the top is dry enough. And we are going to put these little feet on, so they're going to go in the corners flush with the edge. So I'll get a little bit of glue on here. And put these right up here in the wrong place, of course. Oh, what is with me and the glue, you know? And let's put some more glue down because, yeah, the mat board does tend to absorb the glue. So if you have to move it too much, you might as well not have even glued it, you know? So, all right. That lined up there. And get these other three on. So we're going to let those sit for a minute, and then for our drawer, you know, I don't want to leave it white like that just because if you pull it out it's going to look terrible, but I don't really want to put the paint on there because this paint, as much as I love it, the only drawback to it is it stays kind of sticky-ish, and so I don't want it to get kind of stuck in there. So I thought, I can add color without bulk with the Copic marker. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's see, let's use the chisel tip. And that way we can color this black, but it's not actually going to add to it. You know what, let's use the brush tip. I like the brush tip better. Almost never use the chisel tip. And the nice thing with this is I can get right up to the edge too. Or if I do that with paintbrush, it's, you know, 50-50 shot that I'm going to ruin whatever's next to it. All right, here we go. Ta-da! So that worked nice. Oop, get this edge a little bit better here. But yeah, so if you need to add color like that and you don't want to add any bulk, Copic markers work beautifully for that. All right, so we're going to let this set up and I will come back to you here in a few minutes and we will get these painted up, get the bottom of it painted up, and then we'll make a decision on the doors. And what I did do in the interim is I took one of the extra pieces that we had cut off and I painted it with the teal, and then I went over it with this one of the sparks, because again they're kind of translucent, so this gives it kind of like an icy blue-ish color. And then the same sparks that I used on the outside of here to see if, you know, if it would maybe just kind of tint it more towards this, but not as dark, which it kind of does, but yeah, I'm not real sure about those just yet. So we'll make that decision obviously here in a minute. And then there are some optional paper pieces that can go on here too that we may be able to tone it down with, but we'll get to that after we do this. All right, so these have been given a chance to dry, and the only thing is that it always drives me crazy, and I should know about this color, is I'm not sure how it comes across on camera, but when you look at it in the container, it reads a lot more blue than it does when you put it on something. This comes out a lot more green. So on here, I put the little drawer in, and we can put this on here. It's just a little too green for me, so I don't think I want to keep it quite that color. I want to tone it down a bit. So what I did was I took another one of the discard pieces, and I did 2 layers of it, so it was the same color. And I took 2 different colors of the sparks and put them on top to kind of see which one might look best, right? So I did this one here, and this one, which is the one that I used on top of the other color of the metallique one. So this, it's a bit dark, but I do like how that comes out. So I put it here so I could kind of hold it on top of that and see. And I think this one does work because I don't want my accent color to be quite as dark. I do want it to kind of jump up. So I think we're going to put this color, this is Mermaid Sparkle, on top to kind of tone that more to blue. But we do have another piece as well, and we'll be working on this in a few minutes also, but this is the cardstock piece. Here, let me fix the lighting on that. Okay, that's better. So now you can actually see it instead of be blinded by it. But so these pieces here are decorative pieces that are up. We can do this blue here and then paint these the same color as this. So it's more of kind of a border color that comes through instead of, you know, this huge mass of color. So we'll try that. Nice thing is, if it doesn't look right, we can just flip them over and paint them this color and be done with it, right? So we're going to do that real quick. So I will paint these and I'll paint these on. And I'm going to go ahead and just paint them while they're here so they can lay flat, making sure to avoid these other ones. And then we still have the decorative piece on this, and we need to finish this top. We've got some racks and handles and burners and stuff, so still a little bit of ways to go with the decorative elements, but at least the main piece of it is getting done. And I do really like the color that it is. So it's going to force me to commit, obviously, to a color in the kitchen, but I'm totally fine with this being an accent color. So, all right. Let's go ahead and paint these, and then these will attach in here like this, and this is going to glue down to it as a hinge to open and close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use the Copic marker, I think, on these, and I'm going to color these black as well, so they'll blend in when they're sitting here instead of being white and kind of standing out. I think would look kind of weird, so I'll do all that at the same time. Okay, those do still need a little tiny bit to dry, but yeah, I already think I like that a lot better. So yeah, see, that gives a good highlight, and then I think when we put the darker piece on there, it's going to look even better. So we will let these dry and the other pieces dry before we try to fiddle with that. And we're going to go ahead and do the burners, so that way we can get the stovetop done as well. And of course, these are still drying. So we're going to liberate this piece here, number 6, and the 2 number 7 burner pieces. Trying to cut those off of there as round as I can. I'm not the best when it comes to round stuff. Like cutting circles by hand? Nope, that's not happening. Okay. Come on, there we go. So what these are designed to do is, you know, you have your 6 burners here, so this gives them like an elevated plate and like covers that they have on there. So what you're going to do is you're going to take these, and I'm going to get my scissors actually, because sanding these is not going to happen. But I don't want that little extra piece where I didn't cut it very well, so I'll trim that up a little bit. And then we're going to glue these onto this plate here, and we'll glue that onto the stove. So that way when we paint it, it gives it kind of an elevated appearance. So I've got my glue, and I'll go ahead and spare myself the trauma and just put the glue on here, because I think we know how it's going to go if I put the glue on the round piece, you know. Not well. Okay, put that one on there, center that. And this one on here, I love all the little details on these kits. They're just so great. Alright, and we are going to take this now, and we are going to glue this to the stovetop. And I'm going to let that dry for just a minute so I can clean my glass mat, because this is ridiculous. Alright, so this is just going to go right in here. Do that flat so I can see. Okay, see, just goes in there like that. So let that dry, and I'm going to scrape this off, and then I'll be right back with you. Okay, that's much better, because yeah, if you leave that, you know, it was picking up little bits of the paint that had splashed onto here, so yeah, I don't need that. Alright, so these seem to have dried enough where I can go ahead and cut them off of here real quick. Alright, so now these will go on here. They're just glued on, and they're designed to go kind of up so that you have it equal on these 3 sides, but you know, obviously not on that one down there. So I think with that, it does kind of tone that down a bit. And I think I will take my Copic marker, and I will go around the edges of these to disguise where I cut them. And when you're doing that, always color from the back. That way if you slip, you're going to slip and hit the back, not the front. Which is something I learned doing my stamping, where I cut out the stamped images to put on cards and things. And yeah, you only have to ruin a few of them to realize that this is the way to go. So let's test one of these in here. So that'll be like that, and obviously it'll be in there better than that, but it'll be there, and then this will be on here. So it kind of brings this to a, you know, smaller accent kind of color, which is good. All right, so we're gonna let these all sit over here to make sure they're completely dry. So like I said, this stuff tends to get a little sticky as it dries. Got to be a way to fix that without putting like matte medium or something on there, because I don't want to dull it. I like the shine, but yeah, the tackiness of it just drives me nuts. So we're going to go ahead and paint this. We're going to do gesso on there, and then I'm going to do the top of it silver, so it's going to be like a stainless steel kind of cooktop, which would be what you would expect. And then the burners we're going to do black, I think. And since I've already done the back of this, I'm going to paint very, very, very carefully. That's why I kind of went over on some of this, just to avoid that, because I knew it was coming. So as we're letting all sorts of stuff dry now, this would probably be a good time to go ahead and do some of these pieces. So I'm going to cut the racks free. I'm going to cut the burners free. We'll do those. Maybe we'll do the handles too. I don't want to cut too many things free at the same time, but we'll start with the burners though. And then I think with these, because they are paper, so as far as supporting any kind of weight of miniatures, it's going to be limited without damaging them. I definitely don't want to damage them. I'm probably going to do the super glue thing to these as well. I don't think we need to do it to the handles, but we may need to do it to these because I want to make some pots to go on top. So I want to make sure it doesn't hurt anything. Right. So there are 8 little cutout burners, and when I was cutting them out, I noticed that, I mean, these are very delicate pieces, so if I held it down while I trimmed off the little tabs, that seemed to work the best and didn't feel like it was going to rip anything. So just a little tip for you on that one. So what we're going to do is we are going to take and we are going to make these into 4 burners by gluing one on top of the other here. And then we're going to glue these little pieces. Each one of the little things gets one on there. So we'll do that. And I've got the jewel picker out because this works really good to pick it up and put on top of stuff way better than my clumsy self can do. So. So here we have it, and we have them glued together more or less straight, as straight as I'm going to get them. So we're going to let these sit and dry, and then I'm going to do the same with the little racks. And then we will bust out the super glue, and I will show you how to make these much sturdier. Okay, so just like these, we have 2 different racks. One's going to go in the smaller compartment, one goes in the larger one. So we're going to glue these one on top of another. And then each of them has a support piece that's going to run down the center. So we'll glue those on as well. In theory, these being larger, I may be able to do it better, or it's going to be infinitely worse. Oh, we'll find out. Okay, not bad, not bad. Of course, you know, we've got the one, it wouldn't be me, you know, if I lined everything up perfect. I tried to get it over there, but I couldn't. This one came out a little bit better though. But it's alright, because we're going to paint it, so it's going to be super noticeable anyway. So now what we're going to do is we are going to strengthen these pieces so that they're better able to take weight, because I do want to learn how to speak, and then I want to be able to put, like, you know, pots or fake food or something in there with it. So this way we can do this now versus paint them and put them in there and then realize, oh hey, I wanted to put stuff on and it's not holding it. So what I have here, this is super glue. So this is, I believe it's the Red Line super glue. It's like the consistency of water, which is what you need for this particular thing to work. And then this is a bottle with a very fine precision tip. So in the one where I did the locks and keys, I showed you the thing I ordered on Amazon for them, but I threw that bottle away, obviously. I mean the packaging, because I put it in the bottle and I'm not going to keep it forever. So, but what you're going to do is you're going to take the super glue, and usually I just kind of tilt it, and that's enough to do sort of drop by drop. You don't want to squeeze because you can get it everywhere. This is not for kids to do, because this is the type of super glue where you do have very little time before it's going to adhere your skin to itself, and it becomes very painful to remove. So I usually use an awl, so I'm a little pokey tool here, to kind of hold these pieces, and then I'm going to gently just kind of tip the bottle and pray that it's not clogged, and it's not. And you can see where it's going in and saturating it. So you just want to saturate the whole thing and kind of move it around. I move it around on my glass mat. You don't want to do this like on paper or something, because you will stick it to it. See, I'm already sticking it to it. So for things like that, that's why I also have a palette knife. And kind of gently get up under there and wiggle it, because yeah, it doesn't take long for this stuff to stick. Okay. I'm going to press it so it's kind of flat too when it does that, but sort of move it around so it's not going to stick. And I'm going to do that to all these, and I'm going to flip them over. I'm going to do the reverse side as well. And so what it does is it saturates in there with the paper, and it really, really strengthens your piece. I mean, you can sand them after this and everything. So these are nice and saturated. I don't think I need to do the edges because these are thin enough. But as you can see, I mean, even when you push it over here, it still has the potential to stick down. So you're going to see it kind of fog this stuff up. But I'm going to let these dry completely, and then we can go ahead and start painting them. But this is going to make them a lot sturdier and stronger. So we can put like a little pot with food on it, and it's not going to bow, you know, or bend on you. So be back with you in just a few minutes once these have completely dried. And of course I'm going to have to scrape this down again because it's got all kinds of glue on it. So back in a minute. Okay, so that was part 2. We are done basically with most of the, obviously of the piece. So now we're going to do the fun stuff and the burners and the doors and the little handles and all the little cute details that are put into the kit. So I will join you again in part 3. Hey, mischief. Bye.